I guess I don't know. All right. Anyways, this is what we're going to talk about today because I'm trying to figure out where to find this stuff. But so the other night, Monday night, I guess that was yesterday. Duh. Anyhow, yesterday, Rittenhouse and Tucker Carlson's interview was aired. Since his acquittal, his first interview, he hasn't spoken to anybody since his acquittal, except for Tucker Carlson, I think. Up until this point, I don't know what he's done since. But anyways, so Tucker Carlson, he obviously is a news person here. Okay, so let's talk about it. We're gonna listen and discuss. See how well this goes.
In retrospect, it's remarkable just how dishonest, how thoroughly and intentionally dishonest the media coverage of the Kyle Rittenhouse story turned out to be. All of it was.
Wait, let's pay attention to how many times. Okay, so obviously he's for Rittenhouse. But just how media does stuff. It's exactly like what we were talking about last night and whatever. But, alright, let's play it.
It was a lie. Rittenhouse was not a white supremacist. He was never in a militia. He never crossed state lines with a firearm. The protest in Kenosha was not peaceful. It was a riot, chaotic and violent. Many of the rioters, by the way, carried guns. Rittenhouse was hardly alone. Rittenhouse didn't go to Kenosha.
Right, but in that aspect, is it okay to jump off something if your friend did it? I mean, come on.
Kenosha looking for trouble. His father lived there. Rittenhouse himself worked as a lifeguard in Kenosha. On August 25th of last summer, Rittenhouse went downtown to stand guard over a car lot. Here's the context. The night before, police in Kenosha had done nothing as the mob burned businesses, including another car lot, all the way to the ground. So the business owner needed Kyle Rittenhouse's help. He was looking to a 17-year-old for help, if that gives you some perspective on how bad things were, and he asked for it. As Rittenhouse stood there, rioters...
Okay, wait. Am I the only one thinking that he could have been a good lawyer for Rittenhouse? Imagine the closing arguments on that one.
Threatened his life. Then they attempted to kill him. In the end, Rittenhouse shot 3 attackers as he tried to run to the safety of the police. A number of media outlets claimed the men Rittenhouse shot were black. In fact, all 3 were white, and all 3 had serious criminal records. We could go on. Again, the media coverage was, from beginning to end, a tapestry of lies. If you watched the trial last week, you know that. But what about Kyle Rittenhouse himself? What is he like? Apart from his testimony in court, few Americans have ever heard his voice. Over the next hour, we're going to let Kyle Rittenhouse speak for himself. You can make up your own mind what you think. But before we start, one observation, which you can't resist making. It's hard to ignore the yawning class divide between Kyle Rittenhouse and his many critics in the media. Rittenhouse comes from the least privileged sector of our society. During high school, he worked as a janitor and a fry cook to help support his family. Last year, he got into college at Arizona State, and he's very proud of it. In the world Kyle Rittenhouse grew up in, it is not a given that kids go to college. It's not even close. During the course of our long conversation, Kyle Rittenhouse struck us as bright, decent, sincere, dutiful, and hardworking. Exactly the kind of person you'd want many more of in your country. He's not especially political. He never wanted to be the symbol of anything. Kyle Rittenhouse...
I'm just saying, he could have been pretty good for the defense.
Rittenhouse just wanted to keep violent lunatics from setting fire to cars. In the America he grew up in, that was considered virtuous. So if Rittenhouse seems a little bewildered at points during our interview, thinking back over the last year and what happened to him, that's probably why. A lot of the things he assumed were true about this country turned out not to be true at all. So in that way, he speaks for many of us. Here's Kyle Rittenhouse. So tell me, Kyle, how you wound up in Kenosha that day.
Well, it actually started on August 24th. I was working my job as a lifeguard at the Recplex in Kenosha County.
I just want to say let's hope that he keeps his story the same as it was in court. Because wouldn't that suck?
And then the riots were still going on, and a curfew was implied. So I went to Dominic Black's house, and I stayed the night over there, and saw the videos of the riots and the arson going on.
What'd you think of it?
It was upsetting because Kenosha is my community, and I just was upset seeing my community up in flames.
Yeah, I bet you were. So you're at your friend's house that night. You've come back from working as a lifeguard.
Yes.
Like, okay, can I just point out all this stuff that this kid, I'm telling you, it's a kid. He's 17 when he's talking back about what happened. He was 17 years old. A kid.
And then you decide to go in. First, you're cleaning up graffiti, correct?
Like, everybody said that, well, not everybody, but lots of people said, why was the 17-year-old down there? But look, if he was already taking on the responsibility of his family and working to help support his family, it's not his birthed family. It's not like his whatever family. It's his family, right? His mom, his sisters, whatever. His dad, I guess, when he's in Kenosha. But he already had a horrible, huge weight on him. So maybe he thought he was responsible enough to take on defending this car lot and whatnot. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yes. So we stay the night. I stay the night, August 24th. We wake up in the morning and we're talking. We're like, let's go help our community. Let's go see what we can do. And we ended up at Rittenhouse Central High School, where we were cleaning graffiti for a couple hours, and then we met with the owners of Car Source, and we offered to protect their business from fires, making sure the rest of their other two properties didn't get burned down like they did the night prior, and they agreed. We came back. We went back to Dominic's house and hung out there for a little bit, and then we went to Car Source to help protect the property and make sure it didn't set on fire again.
So you get there. What do you see?
When I get there, I see in the beginning, the morning of Rittenhouse Central, I see just spray paint everywhere. I see.
Now, imagine having to have. I mean, you know he was well groomed for that. Taking the stand. Yeah, he's probably been through many of mock whatever things where people ask him questions and get real whatever with him and whatnot, because prosecution was really mean to him. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. So now he's telling his story without the weight of the world on his shoulders. Now this is what happened, and I've already found a couple things that are a little bit not right from what trial was.
Smoke coming from the car source that was burnt down, and it was quite upsetting because that was somebody's business that got destroyed.
Yeah. So you said to the people who own the car lot, I want to protect your cars, and they said, yes, please.
I said, hey, I asked if they needed any help, and they said, yes, if you can.
Where were the police?
I'm not sure really, because they have a hard job.
For sure.
But I didn't really think they got the support they needed. The National Guard should have been called August 23rd, but the city of Kenosha failed the community. The governor, Tony Evers, failed the community, and there should have been a lot more resources to help with that.
Wow. That's pretty big. Failed the community.
That's for sure. So you've been criticized for carrying a firearm into the scene, but it's obvious from the tape that a lot of people, you were not the only one with a firearm. There were rioters with firearms. Was that obvious to you?
Yes.
So you saw other people with guns?
I did. There was a lot of people there were rioters with firearms. I remember one very
Well, I
distinctly,
did notice
Joshua
that. There was a lot of
Zeminski
firearms.
Was walking around with a pistol in his hand all that night with Joseph Rosenbaum.
Where did you first see Rosenbaum?
The first time I saw Rosenbaum was the first time he threatened to kill me. It was at the corner of the car source lot that I was at primarily that night, and I was asking people if they needed medical, and he came up to me and Ryan Balch, and he said, "If I catch any of you MFers alone, I'm going to effing kill you."
Had you ever seen him before?
I have not.
So you'd never seen this guy. He walks up and threatens to kill you out of nowhere.
Yes. It was quite shocking. I was like, why would somebody threaten to kill me? I'm just asking if people need help on both sides. I was there just to help anybody that needed, and shockingly, the only people I helped that night were rioters.
What kind of sense did you get from Rosenbaum? I mean, that sounds deranged.
We're here for the makers, the snowflakers, and your decorators.
When he threatened to kill me, I was like, what the heck just happened? I've never, nobody's ever threatened to kill me up until that point. And I was like, that's not something you say to somebody.
How long after that was it that he tried to grab your rifle?
It was about an hour and a half later, and then there was actually a second time he said to the group, he said, this is the second time he threatened to kill everybody. He said, I'm gonna effing kill you. I'm gonna cut your hearts out, you effing N-words.
Cut your hearts out?
Yes.
Did any
That's a little bit nuts.
of the rioters try and calm him down or stop him?
What I noticed is the rioters were trying to, they were disassociating with him because he was spewing the N-word around, and they just didn't seem to want to have anything to deal with him, the rioters.
For good reason, I'd assume.
So he comes, he tries to grab your rifle, he gets shot. You decide at that point, unless I'm misremembering, you want to go turn yourself into the police.
Yes. After I shoot Mr. Rosenbaum, he tried to grab my gun. I was running away. There was a gunshot behind me. After I shoot him, I run around the car because I was going to go render first aid to him. I wasn't able to because then there was a mob forming and calling for my execution to get him and kill him. And that's when I try to run to the police line and get to the police. And then I am attacked again.
By the guy who kicked you?
By Jump Kick Man, yes.
Whose identity we didn't know. It turns out the prosecution knew it and hid it.
Yeah.
Oh, now it's gonna get good, guys. It's gonna get good. Let's rat out the prosecution.
So we found out November 7th, the prosecution, we went into the judge's chambers and the prosecution said, we identified Jump Kick Man, and the prosecution threw a fit a little bit. They didn't want us to interview him. They were like, well, he's a victim, and didn't want my investigators or my attorneys to interview him or ask him questions. They just wanted to do it private, non-recorded, and the judge said, no, it's going to be recorded. And then a couple hours later, they say, oh, he asked for immunity and we're not going to give it to him, so we're not going to be calling him as a witness.
What the hell? Do you guys hear that? Do you realize that would have probably slam dunk, innocent, hello, why are we even sitting here wasting money and time? Wow.
Yeah, well, probably didn't want to talk about his criminal record.
Yeah.
So you're running, trying to get to the police lines. You see the mob coming after you. Let's execute him, they're saying. And then out of nowhere, you get dropped to the ground by the guy who kicks you in the head. Mm. Did you see him coming?
I did. To backtrack a little bit, actually, as I'm running, Gage Grosskreutz came up to me with his phone and put it in my face, and he said, what are you doing? Did you just shoot that man? And I told him, I'm going to the police. And he said, oh, okay, and ran off, and I kept running to get to the police. And that's when Anthony Huber strikes me with the skateboard as I'm running before I'm on the ground for the first time. And then I'm hit with a rock by somebody in a white tank top. And that's how I end up on the ground. And I have 4 people around me from what I remember. And I move my firearm in their direction, and they back off with their hands up so I don't shoot them. And then Jump Kick Man keeps coming, and that's when I fire 2 shots at Jump Kick Man.
Wow. And you miss him, and he kicks you.
Yes.
Odd, we never heard a damn thing about Jump Kick Man.
Then what happens?
After Jump Kick Man is running off, Anthony Huber comes up and he grabs the barrel of my gun, and then he hits me with his skateboard holding his trucks, and that's when I shoot him 1 time.
Where did he hit you with the skateboard?
He hit me in the back of the head, in the neck, the back of the head towards the neckline.
Did you think you were going to be killed at that point?
I did.
Then what happens?
And then after Mr. Huber attacks me, Mr. Grosskreutz puts his hands up, and then I have my rifle pointed in his direction for about a second, and then once I lower my rifle, I noticed that my ejection port is opened about an inch, and Mr. Grosskreutz said I pulled the charging handle, which never happened. I hit the forward assist to close the ejection port, and he sees me doing that or something, and this time he runs at me and he has his gun pointed directly at my head.
Did you see the gun?
I did.
What, do you think he was going to shoot you?
I did.
Is Gage Grosskreutz, is he going to be on trial? I sure hope so.
He had it pointed directly at my head, and that's when I shoot him 1 time, and he is no longer a threat to me at that point because he ran off after I fired that shot.
Did you realize you hit him?
I didn't know until later.
So then what happens?
There is a person directly in front of me, and I point my rifle in their direction, and he puts his hands up, and he's backing up, and I then turn around, start going to the police, and then I hear shots behind me, and I turn around and briefly raise my rifle to see if I'm being shot at, and then I realize I can't see who's shooting at me, so then I turn around and go back to the police car, towards the police line.
It's just, hearing this, it's just hard to believe this is happening in an American city.
Yeah.
So then you finally get up, you hear shots, you turn to see who's shooting at you, and then you finally make it to the police line.
Yes. Once I make it to the police cruiser, the police officer says, "Get back, get back, get back." One of them has a gun out, and the other has pepper spray pointed at me. And I say, "Hey, I just had to shoot somebody. I just had to shoot somebody." And then they say, "Go home." And I didn't know this until...
Go home?
Yeah.
Go home. Don't worry.
I don't think he knew what happened or heard me. There's a lot of chaos going on.
Yes.
But apparently he pepper sprayed me. You can see it in the video, but I don't remember being pepper sprayed by him.
So then what happened?
I say, okay, I go back to the car source, lot number 2. We've been referring to them. Car source 1 is the one that got burnt down. Car source 2 is the one that I was at primarily the entire night, and car source 3 is the one where I was attacked by Mr. Rosenbaum. I go back to car source lot number 2, and I tell everybody there what happened. I said I had to do it. I was just attacked. I was dizzy. I was vomiting. I couldn't breathe, and I was like, I wanted to turn myself in Kenosha. I wanted to turn myself into the police in Kenosha, but I wasn't able to because they weren't accepting visitors, apparently, with the barricades and the fence up. So we ended up turning myself into the Antioch
We're gonna have to
Police
put a pin, I think, on him for now. We'll definitely get back to that. We're gonna shrink his window for a second. I don't know what's happening, but I just want to get on the stream because ad source. Okay, hold on here. I gotta find it. Oops. Let's make this a little bigger.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily.
Alright, guys. This is it. Remember Brian Laundrie? Yep.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily.
11 seconds. Come on, baby, show me what you got.
Streaming live on WFLA Now. Powered by 1-800-ASK-GARY. Here's J.B. Buno.
Brian Laundrie died of a gunshot wound to the head. This according to the family attorney, who says that the Laundries have been informed of the news and that their son, Brian, his manner of death has been ruled a suicide. As online questions remain as to what this means for justice for Gabby, we're breaking down the latest live on WFLA Now. Hey there, everybody. JB Buno and Josh Benson here with you live.
Well,
again on WFLA Now. Josh, you and I think received the same text message from attorney Stephen Bertolino about 20 minutes ago. Would you like to read the full text message that we just got from Bertolino?
Yes, I can do that. He said, Chris and Roberta Laundrie have been informed that the cause of death was a gunshot wound to the head and the manner of death was suicide. Chris and Roberta are still mourning the loss of their son and are hopeful that these findings bring closure to both families. Now, what I found interesting is this kind of came out earlier today, so we've been trying to get a hold of Stephen Bertolino to get an update because you had mentioned you had reached out to a medical examiner, right?
Yes, I had reached out to the medical examiner's office.
And they said that they weren't going to be providing the update. So then we assumed maybe the FBI would. So I'm still texting here with the attorney, and I asked if there's anything from the notebook or any confirmation on the suicide, and he said nothing further. So then I said, what about the report? Can we get access to the report? He said, I don't have the report. So I asked, will the FBI update us? The medical examiner says it's not coming from them. He said, I was told info will be released at 1 p.m., so I'm not sure if that happened. It's now 1:40, so we don't officially have the report.
But here's the thing. The 1 o'clock news is interesting because
he just sent that just a second ago.
I've been told that it's going to be released by FBI Denver. That even though FBI Tampa is still still very much involved in the investigation.
Wait. So, they don't have an actual report as of this broadcast.
Partnering with FBI Denver. It's still FBI Denver. FBI Denver, Mountain Time. So that would be 1 o'clock. That would be 1 o'clock.
Oh, good point.
So
time difference.
That could be 3 o'clock.
Our time.
Eastern Time. So that's an interesting wrinkle.
That's
I did not know that from you as far as notes go before this stream. So for those of you just joining us here, this is Stephen Bertolino, the Laundrie family attorney, confirming to reporters and really copying pasting the same text message to all of us, telling us that the Laundries, Chris and Roberta in Northport, they have been informed of the manner of death being a suicide and that it was via a gunshot to the head. But tons of questions. I know that sounds like a broken record, but still tons of questions. And the big one that comes out of this, Josh, we already see it online, already see it in our...
I don't know. I'm not going to go into this too much because that's definitely a rabbit hole we're never going to get out of. But, apparently...
Facebook comment section, Twitter, hello to you.
Suicide and gunshot wound to the head. So, he was a coward, like we all knew, and yeah, that's about that. I mean, I don't know.
Metal detectors out there at the time during that search with the FBI and with Northport, but you got to believe they're going to be looking for a gun at this point. Because we haven't been told that they had found one. I think we would have been given the heads up
They found one, remember? In the waters in Fort DeSoto.
that something. We were told that the dry bag and the notebook were found.
It would be very bizarre for the FBI and Special Agent in Charge McPherson announcing at that press conference. Everyone remembers that press conference that day at the Carlton Reserve when they came out and they said that they had found, the book bag, and that they had found a notebook. It would be very strange for them to say that they had found those two items and didn't find a firearm there at the Carlton Reserve.
Another thing that's really weird, I just have to point this out, is that we have never heard anything out of that notebook. So is anything salvageable? They know we want to know. I'm just saying.
But would it be? I mean, maybe they don't want people to jump to too many conclusions and thinking maybe there's more to the case or other victims, or any victims for that matter. Maybe, I don't know. I think that's where an update would then be very useful from the...
As far as Brian Laundrie's manner of death. This, of course, coming from Stephen Bertolino. And let's kind of preface this by saying that this is very extraordinarily common. And I talked about this a little bit on Twitter, Josh, in that the family is going to get advance notification.
All right. So that's basically all that happened with them, I think. I don't know. I'm not too sure. We're going to just... Well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to shrink it, and we're going to throw it over here with these ones. And, bring up good old Kyle Rittenhouse again. Actually, hold on. How do I do this? I guess I could do this. If I pause it, I may not pause it. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it play, like down there, so people can see what's happening. And then I'm gonna play Rittenhouse. That is what I'm doing. Alright, guys. Back to Kyle Rittenhouse. We've only got another 3 minutes left of this interview.
She drove back across state lines, as we're now calling it. Funny. You couldn't even turn yourself in.
No, it was like I had to go to Antioch Police Department, which, to my understanding, is the closest police department to Kenosha.
Why do you think people were burning car source? What does that have to do with civil rights?
I don't know. I think it was opportunists taking advantage of the BLM movement. I agree with the BLM movement. I agree everybody has the right to protest and assemble, but I do not agree that people have the right to burn down. I don't appreciate that people are burning down American cities to try to
But do
spread
kids
their
have a
message.
right to
I think there
protest?
are other ways to go around and do that.
Well, I agree with that completely. So you turn yourself into Antioch Police. What do you think is going to happen at that point to you?
I didn't know. I was in shock. My head was spinning from being hit in the head multiple times. I had some minor injuries. I just didn't know. I didn't know I was going to be arrested for defending myself because everything was on video. But part of the reason I think I was arrested is because of the mob mentality. And they were like, yeah, we're just going to arrest him, even though there was videos already out showing me being attacked and having to defend myself.
So when was it that you were arrested?
I was arrested on August 25th at around 6 a.m. I was formally arrested without a criminal complaint being drafted. They didn't know what they were charging me with yet. They just arrested me.
At home?
At Antioch Police Department.
What'd your parents say when you called them and told them what had happened?
I didn't call my mom after I saw her, and she was in shock. She was like, she wanted to go into hiding, and I said, no, the right thing to do would be to turn myself in. I didn't do anything wrong.
So you knew that from the very beginning?
Wow.
I knew that. A lot of people are like, oh, Kyle had time to meet with his attorneys to come up with this amazing defense of self-defense. No, that's not the
Did
case.
he just
It's been
admit his mom wanted to go into
self-defense
hiding?
from the beginning, and I didn't know there was 100 cameras. I knew but I did know I was attacked, and I defended myself.
What do you think would have happened to you if there hadn't been the amount of video that there is?
I can't even imagine. I don't think we'd be sitting here right now having this talk, Tucker.
That's for sure. He'd never
Wow.
get out. Rittenhouse knows perfectly well the only reason he's free is because he can prove what actually happened thanks to those videos, but it didn't prevent him from going to jail anyway. He did for a longer period than most people understand. During that time, he picked up a couple of attorneys who said they would help him. In his view, they badly abused him and his family and their trust. I'll tell you a lot about that in just a minute, and about the prosecutors.
Wow. That's crazy. I don't know what comes next now. But we'll do that on a different video. Okay, so I'll shrink him. And we're going to bring over crazy guy from the Christmas shooting. Or not shooting. The Christmas parade drive-through. Whatever you want to call that. Apparently, this is when he got arrested.
Breaking news just into the Fox 6 newsroom. We're getting our first look at the moments leading up to the arrest of Darrell Brooks Jr. Ring doorbell camera captured Brooks knocking on the door of Waukesha
Thank goodness
resident
for a
Daniel
ring.
Ryder.
Hey, I called an Uber and I'm supposed to be waiting for it over here, but I don't know when it's coming. Can you call it for me, please? I'm homeless. I don't know.
Homeless?
Oh, yeah, for sure. My ID.
Clearly, he must be on something.
Whoa.
26, 500 block of Elizabeth, 126. Hey, do you know this guy? Absolutely not. Okay.
Again, that was the arrest
Wow.
video, the moments leading up to the arrest of Darrell.
I'm just really kind of shocked here. I don't know exactly what to say about that. That is crazy. Obviously, the deliberation is not done yet on the Arbery trial. That's why this here is here. We're going to put Tucker back up here. Put him back in line with the others. I don't know, really, honestly. I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna end this now. And, I will upload it to YouTube. Anyways, take care, guys, and we'll be live again. Bye.